Hey guys, thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. So I just want to make a quick video today about my Steyr AUG. And the reason I'm making yet another YouTube video about my AUG is I recently had the opportunity to shoot out to 702 yards with this rifle, with this optic. And for me, it's a pretty long way. Now, keep in mind, I live in western North Carolina, in the foothills, really, of the Appalachian Mountains, the Smoky Mountain Range. So having access to extended sight lines for shooting especially are pretty uncommon. Now if you live like out in Arizona or out in like, the Dakotas, you get out sight lines regularly out to 1,000 yards, and you have DNR land. So you can actually get out there and do that. It's not common on the East Coast. But anyway, so I had the opportunity to shoot out to 702 yards. And I just kind of wanted to share some thoughts and opinions on that with you guys. But first, thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to subscribe, who takes the time to like the video, who really takes the time to comment, because there are a million other videos you could be watching right now, and you haven't clicked off yet. So thanks. But so diving right into it, this is a Vortex Strike Eagle 1-8, and it is a budget LPVO, and it shows when it shows it's a budget LPVO. The biggest thing that I noticed with this optic, it's a second focal plane optic, so the bullet drop compensation reticle was really only accurate at max magnification, but which kind of sucks because the max magnification, the eye box on this LPVO is super tight, and even when you got a perfect eye box, the scope, the image quality is really crappy. It gets kind of this grayish sort of tint to it, and the scope shadow is really bad. The eye box is really tight. The eye relief gets super tight. At max magnification, frankly it sucks. It's worse than like $150 4x32 hunting scope at that range, at that magnification. From 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 even, it's a pretty good image quality. But your bullet drop compensation is not accurate, really accurate at those ranges. Though the size of the reticle doesn't appear to change, something funky's going on there. I don't know what it is. I don't understand optics well enough to really give you a good answer for that. But so I was able to get out to distance. Got out to 700 with this optic. It can be done. It was not easy. It was very challenging. But I had a good spotter, a really good spotter, a really good instructor, and they taught me how to get out to distance. I got out, 350 with 5.56 was pretty easy. That's almost like point shooting, almost like battle zero at that distance, because I zeroed it for 100 yards, and I should say, at the 100-yard zero range, when I went to zero this optic, I was making the final granular adjustments to the zero, and I started having to tap on the turrets with my knuckle because the turret was not tracking with the adjustment that I was giving it. So, pretty common with a budget optic. Luckily, the instructor was a former 0317 scout sniper, and he told me, he said, hey, just tap on that turret real quick and see if that changes it. And sure enough, tapping on the turret fixed the problem. But the ammo that I was shooting for the day was AAC 55 grain FMJ, and it was like boring ammo. Like it did exactly what it said it was going to do on the box. I didn't chronograph it, so I don't know if it was at the advertised velocity or not, but it grouped about 2.5 MOA at 100 yards with this gun, and locked back on empty every time. It was consistent enough so that any error was shooter error and not ammunition error. I paid 52 cents a round for it, and I think that's for what I paid, it's great. So yeah, good job PSA on your ammo, and keep it up. that's my experience. I've not shot it through a suppressor. I am aware, and I have seen some people who are damaging their suppressors by shooting AAC ammo. I have no experience with that, so I can't say anything about it. But the rifle itself, stock trigger, it's a standard model, so it takes actual AUG magazines. Standard 16-inch barrel. And the only thing that's not standard on this gun, besides the sling and optic, is this brass deflector. This brass deflector is a Janicorp 3D printed one, and it's probably the best $11 I've ever spent on this AUG. I did have the Janicorp mag release, but in my experience, it has trouble retaining Magpul PMags. Magpul AUG mags, I should say. And so, because I actually prefer to use those, I took it out. Maybe you'll have different results because they are 3D printed. So I don't know how necessarily strict the manufacturing quality is on them. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I like Janicorp, like what he's doing with the AUG platform, and but prefer the stock one for now. I'm really looking forward to trying out the Arid AK style mag release, because the mag release on the AUG is something that's the one thing I really dislike about the gun. But anyway, yeah, so from 1 to 350 was pretty easy where we were shooting at. And where we were shooting, we were up on top of a ridge, and we're shooting down into some terrain at unknown distances. The reason I'm telling you the distances is because we had a rangefinder and we were able to laze the steel. So 1 to 350 was pretty easy. No real holdover. It's pretty simple. When we got up to 500, 500 was not hard because there was the gong I was shooting at was on top of dirt, and so misses were very easy to spot. And my spotter was very good and gave me really good wind calls and really good corrections based on my misses. And I was able to get on 500 pretty easy. 600 was a little bit more challenging because the bullet drop compensation in the reticle bottoms out at 600, and I really think that is the furthest you should ever try to shoot with an optic like this if you're not like on a range having fun with a good spotter, because that is where the bullet drop compensation bottoms out and it goes no further. I did shoot out to 702, and I was using the top of the bottom stadia line as my bullet drop compensator, which is crazy. But to be frank, 702 yards of the 5.56 is like crazy far. Especially like a 16-inch 5.56 at 702 yards. That is well beyond what that cartridge, what this gun itself was ever designed to shoot at. But we did it. We did get out there, again, with really good wind calls, a really good spotter. I mean, all credit goes to my spotter. I just pulled the trigger. Spotting's the hard job. But, yeah, got out there. Got 3 out of 5 hits on a 18-inch by 18-inch steel plate. And, yeah, I mean, this gun, it groups about 2.5 to 3 MOA with decent ammo, which is what you would expect from a 5.56 infantry rifle. It's not a designated marksman's rifle. It's not a sniper rifle. It's not a CSAS or anything special. It's just a 5.56 infantry rifle. And I think 2.5 to 3 MOA is perfectly acceptable accuracy for that. And yeah, getting out. I mean, I'd have been pleased if I'd only got up to 500 yards, because that's really what the gun is designed to do. But getting out to 702 yards in a little bit of wind I was really impressed with that. I was very pleased with it too, because I took a gun with a stock trigger that everyone complains about, that is 28 inches from the very tip of the muzzle device to the very furthest point back on the buttstock. This hump right here, that is 28 inches overall length. That is, to me, that's very impressive. A gun that is 28 inches, will fit in a large backpack, can be pulled out, and you can engage with really no holdover out to like 400. With a little bit of holdover, a little bit of holdover, good wind calls out to 500 easily, and really good wind calls and a lot of holdover out to 702. But to be frank, I mean, I feel like I'm not saying anything that should be surprising to anybody, because Steyr as a company has been making quality firearms, I think, for over 100 years before this gun was even invented by them. So it shouldn't be any surprise that they make a good gun. And then you look at the Steyr AUG in the context of infantry rifles of the 20th century, and then you realize this thing has been in use since the 70s continuously by multiple militaries. And it's not some like tiny little third world country, like little sub-Saharan African military that has like 25 units and they post it on Instagram or something. No, I'm talking like professional, volunteer, first world militaries have been using this gun since the 70s. So if you think about it, much like the AK and much like the AR-15, this gun has really had a lot of development since its inception. And that shows, I think, in my results the day I used it. Boringly reliable, super consistent, plenty accurate enough. It did exactly what I asked it to do. I think if I could change two things about it, I would put a hinge trigger for the civilian model. Now, I get why it has a sliding trigger. It's a progressive trigger. I think a hinge trigger would give it a better break. Even at the same weight, it'd have a cleaner break with a hinge trigger. And two, I would change the mag release because I hate this mag release. One, mags don't drop free. They don't drop free out of the stock. And they're hard to take out versus like an AK or an AR. So that's my two gripes with the AUG. It doesn't make a good suppressor host, but to be frank, no 5.56 rifle makes a really good suppressor host in the context of suppressor hosts in general. If you want a gun that's dedicated for suppression, like if you think about in the context you're going to use it, I'm not going to use this as a duty gun. I hope to never be in the line of duty with a gun. But any 9mm or like 300 blackout is going to make a much better suppressor host than any 5.56 rifle. So I'm not really worried about suppressing it. I can't afford nods, so I'm not really worried about it's the ease of setting it up to use with a night vision device. So for my use case, it's great. It's a great rifle. It's a little heavy, but it is compact enough, and the balance without this LPVO, this is not my LPVO by the way, with the balance with the LPVO is rear enough so that the weight doesn't feel very egregious. But overall, I'm very pleased with the gun so far. And I'll probably make another video or two about the AUG. I would like to spray paint it someday, and maybe finally settle on a optic setup for it. Once I do, take it out to some carbine courses, try to see what I could do with like one reload one, things like that. But overall, I want to say thank you to my spotter for getting me on target. Thank you to my instructor. You know who you are. And I don't think you watch YouTube videos, but or he does. But overall, I'm very pleased with it. And I want to say thank you guys for watching my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing, and stay tuned. I'm going to try to have some more uploads for you guys soon.